Welcome to Meanwhile in Broomtown. This is going to be a video about propagating pear trees, old pear trees. And I wanted to include this first part just showing you me collecting the scion wood off of this old tree. It's 100 plus years old. Doesn't put off a lot of new green, but we're doing the best, and we're going to take them in the house and get them ready. One of the problems with dealing with old trees is they don't put a lot of new wood. This tree's 100 and something years old, and what we're hunting is this newer 1 year wood or 2 year wood. Some of this is old and it doesn't graft easily. So you'll think you've got a lot of wood, and then what you end up with is not as much as you think. On young trees, it's easy because they're continually growing, and they're putting on new stuff all the time. But trying to save old varieties, it's hard. So like on this piece, really what I want is that. And the rest of that I would not call ideal. And some of you, it's limited to, how high in the tree it is. This is, anyway, that gives you an idea. This is more, and I know this is small, and this will be hard to graft. In a perfect world, you'd have stuff this big around, but really green, and it'd be easy for it to take. So I'm gonna cut these, and I'm gonna cut some that I don't think is probably very good, and then we'll just see how it turns out. But after our field trip today, it looked like we got a lot of wood, but really this is the most usable right here. All right, now that we've got our stuff we're gonna graft, we're gonna work our way down to size. And this is not a hard and fast. This is just but I'm trying to get as many nodes as I can, and then still be in a usable length. This is really little bitty stuff. This will be hard to graft, mainly because your rootstock is probably bigger around diameter than that. That's tiny stuff. But like I said earlier, it is what we have to work with. You can't change the wood. That's too little. All right, so out of that whole bunch, this is about what I got that's worth messing with. So I don't know, I guess I'd say cut more than you think you need. The other little deal I do, especially if it's going to be a minute before you graft these, this paraffin tape works wonders. It doesn't let it dry out, and then when it buds, You know, it'll push right through the paraffin tape, the buds will, and except for when you don't put it on there. But this is just a little extra. Is it absolutely, you know, necessary? Probably not. But if you're gonna go to all this trouble, you know, I believe in doing it right. You know, that if it's overkill, so be it. This stuff's pretty cheap, and 100-year-old scion wood for, you know, pears that you're trying to save. That's the hardest part to get, so you might as well take care of it. We'd have had 2 of these trees to graft out of, but on the home place there was a pear tree that was planted behind the house that you could, it was too close to the house, but you could pick pears off the porch, and it was kind of neat. And one of my great uncles, I'm gonna guess probably in 1960, decided that it was in his way. He was painting, and he cut it down. So one of the things I'm gonna do is, if I get any of these to take, I'm gonna plant a new one over there at the house. So there'll be pears for the next 100 years. The next deal is, I don't want these to dry out. And the easiest way to do that is get some damp paper towels and wrap them. And then we're gonna put the wrapped pears, scion wood. And this is just to hold them together. But I'm gonna put the date on. Now that I got the Sharpie, I forgot to put the date. 2, maybe 1925. I could be off a day. I don't usually keep up since retiring. I don't really care what the day is, much less the date. But we'll roll them up, get all the air out, try to save them, and put them in the refrigerator. Refrigerator will keep them cool. These little guys will stay dormant until we're ready to do something with them. There you go. That big bunch of sticks ended up being that. Thanks, Bert. Hey, meanwhile in Broomtown, I want to jump on here and tell you about whip grafts. I made a video showing you collecting the scion wood from these pear trees off of a really, really old pear here on the farm, 100 years old pear. And I've done some grafting myself, but when I'm dealing with something that old or that, you know, that's not very easily replaced, I'd sent these to a fellow in Mississippi and had him graft them for me. I didn't have the rootstock and that kind of thing. So they're back today and they've been whip grafted, and we're going to pot them. And when you're making these videos, sometimes I don't know what order things are. So it may be in another video where we collected the scion wood, or it may be on the beginning of this one. But either way, I want to show you what it looks like when you get stuff grafted for you. And these have already started putting out, which I was kind of surprised. I've never got them back with foliage on them. That's half the fun, is to see which grafts are going to take in the end. But these are here. They look good. I'll show you how he stakes them. But let's talk about how they're packaged, because these things are wonderful. So many times you get you get stuff in the mail order, and you don't know what you're getting, and you don't know if it's good. I've dealt with Larry Stevens for a few years, and it's just top-notch stuff. You can see all this jelly that keeps them moist, and this is what you get. Obviously, the rootstock, and that one's already got a little sprout on it. Most of the time, when you get stuff like this, the green, you get it before it buds out. I don't think it matters. I might be a little careful with this since this foliage is so tender. Probably won't sit it in the sun. I'll set them to the side, let them be in the shade for a couple of days and get hydrated. But you can see he's wrapped them in paraffin and put a popsicle stick on it so that in shipping or even me handling them, they don't, that union is not broken. So that's good stuff. So let's get them put in some dirt and get them on their way. I ordered these off of the Amazon grow bags. I've used grow bags before, but a lot of times when I'm doing grafts and tree stock, if you're planting these in pots, there's not a lot of room for the root zone. You can see with these are a little extra deep, and I specifically sought these out for that purpose, so that I can get these planted, and the dirt is more conical maybe than it is, round. It's probably the same volume. It's probably 3 gallons, but it's just distributed a little bit different, which for this is good. I got my dirt. I got my bag. These little things are cool. I usually, when I get something like that, I'll save them. These are handy things. If you're into this, you know that nothing is a shortcut. You're gonna have to, you got to water every day. You got to take care of it. I mean, this is just that's just part of the deal. There's a reason that trees at the big box stores cost $35. It's not just greed. There's a lot of man hours that goes into this before they're ever trees. I would probably be scared to add up how many hours I have in grapes and figs and now pear trees. Over here next to me is this year's apple cuttings. So, and I'm not in a nursery business. I'm just kind of doing this for for myself. We've talked about that before. A lot of times it's hard to get the variations of fruit that you want that in the big box stores. They just don't have it. They have like apples, they'll have a lot of red delicious and yellow delicious and stuff like that, and that's fine. We've talked before about what grows best in what areas. I specifically wanted to save this pear. I don't have a clue what variety it is. Everybody says Bartlett, and it may very well be. What I do know is that it's I'm 62 and a little, and I have never seen this pear tree that these were cut off of not have pears. They have pears in drought. They have pears in wet. Just they produce. So why not? Why keep battling the deal and planting stuff that doesn't work in your area when you can find things that do. And with a little bit, like I said, this is not it's not without work. It would be hard, in my other life before retirement. It would have been hard going to the office every day and doing all this also. So I have the luxury of being able to do it. One thing that I do is I share these with folks all over Broomtown, and for that reason, I've been fortunate to be able to do it, and I share it. And I bet wherever you live, um, you can do something similar. There's somebody in your area that's good at, I guess we'll call this horticulture. I don't know, but whatever you want to call it, there's somebody there that cares about propagating these old variety of plants. And I don't know how you get in touch with them. I'm of a certain age. My son reminds me all the time that I'm at of a certain age. But for my age bracket, Facebook has been a fantastic tool. Instead of fighting about politics and all the other usual crap, I have found a community of great people and pear people and people who do apples and people who do grafting and on and on and on. And it's fantastic. Another quick thing that the farm manager reminded me is when you're going through these, I'll never want 10 of these trees. So process of elimination, um, I'm going to pick the best ones first to do this with. And one of the criteria is roots. You can see some of the differences on this root stock. It's there and there. I'm gonna plant this one. I'm gonna save this one to make sure that um, I'm gonna plant it last, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is fine. It's got some little hair roots on it, but go through your stuff is my point, and see what you got. That fella I probably won't. I kind of wish that rootstock was on another, but that's what it is. So these.
Somebody online told you that you could plant.
That's right. You can if you got rootstock you don't use, put it out and use it next year, um, which is a pretty good idea. While I'm doing this, I'll tell you a story. I won't say it's a funny story. It's an interesting story. The house where I got these from, um, we use it as a rental house now. When I was a kid, family lived there, and they ran a store, not a big store, but a little store that was like a community store. When I was a kid in the 60s in Broomtown, there were a lot of little bitty general stores. And I usually, paid attention to crap like, which one had the best ice cream. But they had other stuff, obviously. And the guy that owned this house and this pear tree and ran the store with his wife, all my life was just called, his name is Nip, M-N-I-P, Nip. And, being a dumb kid, I never really gave a lot of thought as to, I knew it was an unusual name. Never met anybody else ever that was named Nip. One day I was, some years later, in the cemetery visiting family graves, and I went by Nip's grave and found out that Nip, his name is Napoleon Bonaparte, and then his last name, and I won't use that because he's still got family here, but his brother, Kurt, who I had heard all my life about Kurt, and went by Kurt's grave, and Kurt was Christopher Columbus. That was his name. So it's neat, especially, I don't know if it's rural Alabama or the South in general or Appalachia. You take some, whatever your pick is, but those were important names and famous names. And there's a lot of George Washington, in that cemetery. There's obviously biblical names galore. But I just thought it was neat. Never before and never since have I known anybody named Napoleon Bonaparte. And we called him Nip. And now he's got trees that I named after him. So there you go. That's why the Nip Napoleon Bonaparte pear trees are here now. Let's do one more, and that way I won't leave anything out, because a lot of times when I make these, I watch them when the farm manager's putting them together. I'll go, that's not very clear or whatever. So out of completionism, let's recap. Good roots. It's already got green. Put them in these bags. Kind of gauge. You don't want to plant them deep like up here, because you want to keep that clean. Anytime these things start budding out below that graft union, you want to rub them off, because you don't want green from the rootstock. You want green from the variety that you're trying to propagate. So we'll clean that and we'll keep doing it. But I'll bury this to about, say, here. So I kind of measure that, and then I know how much dirt to put in them. And then I'll let you stay with me for another minute, and then I won't bore you with, I surely won't make you watch me do 10 of these. But see, that's almost right. That was just a little bit high. And yeah, that's nice. So we'll keep filling the bag. Come around on this side and look down in there. Maybe we can. And now I'll start just kind of adding dirt. Don't get all paranoid that I'm putting it all on one side, because I'll kind of move him around, figure out his final height, before I pack dirt in. If you did that, if you packed it in hard and then tried to manipulate him, you might tear some of the roots off. But slow and steady is what's important here. So there we go. And I know you probably thought it was over, but I found a little bit of footage from a couple of months later, and I wanted to show you how much they'd grown. So this last little bit is fast forwarded in time, and this is what they look like after they've been potted up for about 2 months. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you would, take a second to hit the subscribe button for us. It helps us a lot. I appreciate it.